What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another viewer suggested video. If you are unfamiliar with what I've been doing lately, I've been asking you guys, the viewers, for exactly what you want to see. So if you would like to suggest a topic for the video, every Sunday after my video goes live, I make a post on my community tab on my YouTube page where you can go suggest your topic. Sometime on Tuesday of the following week, I will select the topic, I'll comment on it, and let you know that yours has been chosen so you can look forward to the video. For the best chance to get your topic chosen, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and then turn on that bell icon to give you all the notifications. That way you'll know whenever I upload new content or I post something on my community tab. So what do we have for this week? Well, if you read the title of the video, you're probably expecting the top 10 content additions to Old School RuneScape, and that is exactly right. Our topic for this week comes from Joseph Southern. Top 10 list of your favorite content updates since OSRS launched. Now, I was going to do my personal favorites, but I actually did 10 of the best content updates, which a lot of them actually would be in my top 10 favorites, minus a couple, but I think it makes it a little bit more interesting that it's actually intertwined with my favorites as well as what I think benefits the game the most. So we are going to go through the top 10 OSRS content updates, and these are in no particular order. It is just what I think and feel that the 10 best content updates to the game have been throughout Old School RuneScape's lifetime. Before we get into the video, I want to ask you guys if you have different ideas or if you thought some other content update should have made it into this video, definitely leave it in the comments down below. I do love reading the comments, so I would definitely like to know what other opinions are out there based on this video. I won't be able to respond to all of them, but I'll respond to as many as I can. Alright, so let's get this one started. I'm going to start this video off with something that I really enjoy doing, and that is going to be the Chambers of Zarik. I think the Chambers of Zarik was one of the best updates that Old School RuneScape ever could have had for a variety of different reasons, but I just want to cover the most important ones to me. One of them is team effort. Old School RuneScape's Chambers of Zarik changed the way that players participate and work together as a team. And this can be just for the bosses, but more or less the puzzle rooms that are Ice Demon, and especially the Crabs room, where you actually have to work with your teammates to stand in the right spot, bounce the stones, change the colors, stuff like that in the Chambers of Zarik was really on a different level from what was currently available in Old School RuneScape at the time. It also helped with a huge amount of communication from team members, especially with something like Vespula or the Vanguards. Vanguards took a lot of communication prior to the update. It still does, and you still have to watch with your team. It's really beneficial to be in Discord or some sort of voice comm server while you're doing the Chambers of Zarik. More experienced players don't need this because they know what they're doing, but for people learning, the cooperation and communication need for the Chambers of Zarik is next level. The Chambers of Zarik isn't like Bandos or Armadyl God Wars or anything else like that. Not like those other group bosses where you kind of just have a tank, everybody else is DPS, you don't have to do much communicating. The only communication you probably do is, crap, I missed Bandos, somebody's gonna have to tank or run away, something of that sort. So the Chambers of Zarik definitely makes this list for me because it opened a door to a lot of future content updates as well. Next up is the Inferno. I think the Inferno definitely makes this list because it was the biggest solo challenge in Old School RuneScape, and some people might still consider it to be the biggest Old School RuneScape challenge. The Inferno introduced unique mechanics to learn and deal with. You really have to think about a lot of stuff, especially when you get to Zuck. You have to worry about timing, the sets of the mage and the ranger, about where you're standing behind the shield, what weapon you're using. You have to keep an eye on your HP, your prayer, your run energy. It is a lot of stuff to throw together at one time, and the Inferno cape is definitely an achievement. I still don't have one. The Inferno also brought out a type of rage in me that I did not know I have. I actually haven't been back to the Inferno in probably over a year because of my last attempt. I got a server dead click and died with Zuck around 100 HP left, and it just made me so angry that I never went back. As far as game tick mechanics, you also have to be pretty conscious of this. Now, you don't have to tick manipulate in the Inferno. I've made it all the way to Zuck with resources to spare by just flicking, lazy flicking actually, Rigor and Augury, and I didn't turn off my overhead prayers once. So So there are ways to do it without prayer flicking, but the most efficient way and the best way to do it to ensure that you get there with supplies left is going to be prayer flicking, especially if you aren't on a Slayer task. So those are the reasons that the Inferno makes my list. Next up is going to be the Gauntlet and the Corrupted Gauntlet. Obviously, they're one and the same, just one's a little bit harder. I like the Gauntlet for this list because it's a tough challenge for solo players, especially the Corrupted Gauntlet. Even coming into the game and going to the Gauntlet itself, just the normal one your first time, can still be pretty challenging. The ability to rebuild and make money from nothing at the Gauntlet as a starting point is actually one of my favorite parts of it. You don't need any of your own supplies to go to the Gauntlet. All you have to do is finish Song of the Elves quest, and then you have access to the Gauntlet regardless of what your bank looks like, regardless of your items, your gear. You can go there and make millions of GP per hour if you're in the Corrupted Gauntlet, and the normal Gauntlet you can make a lot of money at as well, but it is nowhere near the cash income as the Corrupted Gauntlet. Another thing I would like about the Gauntlet is that it really introduced time management to old school RuneScape. Obviously, you only have a set amount of time to prepare yourself before you get to the Gauntlet boss, so you really have to think about what you're doing, the order you're doing it in, and if you don't have the right resources or you can't find them, you have to go into the final fight with what you do have. The next content update that makes this list is going to be Zelra. Zelra really opened the door for more advanced boss mechanics in old school RuneScape, along with different attack styles, switching gear very rapidly, and even the Jad phases switching back and forth between magic and range pair pretty quickly. It really changed how old school RuneScape is played and opened that door for future bosses similar to Zelra with advanced mechanics. Zelra also provided a way to make very good profit per hour for time dedicated to learning the boss. Obviously, the better you get, the more kills per hour you're going to get. So for the dedication and time that people spent to get up to 25, 27, 30 kills per hour at Zelra, it really helped buff people's banks just for the time and dedication they spent learning that boss. Very good boss and very good way to open the door for advanced mechanics in old school RuneScape. My next content update isn't specifically a dedicated content update, but it is something that was added to old school RuneScape, which I think was very good, and that is the MVP system. Now, the MVP system can work at Volcano, Nex, Nightmare, Theater of Blood, the point system in Chambers of Zarik. It gave players an incentive to do more and work harder for the drops. Now, if you don't know, the MVP system in those bosses pretty much gives a higher chance of a good drop to the player that does the most damage or works the hardest, gets the most points, however you want to look at it. Now, it provides better chances to those rare drops for actually taking the time to learn advanced mechanics and do the best that you possibly can do and outperform the other players. Now, at this point, there's a lot of people out there that are constantly battling for MVPs because they know bosses inside and out, but it only helps to make people work harder. I think the MVP system was something really good that was added to old school RuneScape just for the fact that it makes people more dedicated and try harder for what they're doing. The next update is very recent, just a few weeks ago, and that is the new pet insurance system. The new pet insurance allows for your pet to be automatically insured whenever you get a drop. Well, it didn't used to be like that. You had to go to Probita, or however you say her name in Ardoin, pay her a fee, and she'll insure your pet, and then you have to pay every time you lose it and get it back. But the problem was, at like something like Vorkath or Zelra, there's a good chance that you could die at the very same time that you get that pet, and that is just absolutely heartbreaking. We've seen a bunch of those on the Unlucky Players Showcase series, and it's just terrible to look at. But now, as long as you have that pet in your collection log, or if you had a bank placeholder when this update came out, you can go reclaim the pet with a fee, and that's really not bad. I don't mind the fee. It's an automatic insurance for a very rare pet drop. It's a very good update to old school RuneScape, and I really appreciate that Jagex took the time to put it in. Now, although I don't have one, I don't have a team, and I don't play one, Group Iron Man is next on my list. And why is that if I actually don't play the game mode? Well, it allowed players to form small teams and communities to work through the game together. Now, me myself, I don't care for Iron Men, Hardcore Iron Men, or Ultimate Iron Man. I don't really like the game mode. I like being able to interact with the community, do bosses and stuff, split drops with other people. That is the most fun to me. But even with group Iron Man accounts, you can still do that in a small community. You actually have to work together to get drops. One person can go over to Zelra and just camp it and try to get everybody's Tanzanite Fang. Another person can go get skills up to provide really great potions, super combats. It's really a team effort, and it really helps and keeps the idea of interacting with other players rather than completely solo gameplay. So I think group Iron Man was a great addition to this. Now you can work with your team, but you can't trade with anybody else. It's just all around really a good idea. Next on my list is going to be gold sinks, or more specifically, death mechanics. Death mechanics are a great way to suck gold out of the game. There is a huge influx with as many people that play this game from bosses like the Alchemical Hydra or Vorkath that drop a good amount of alchable items. Just about every trip that I do at the Alchemical Hydra, I end up with somewhere between 300,000 and 600,000 GP in alchable drops, and that is just a huge amount of gold coming into the game just from monster drops alone. Now this helps to stabilize the economy. You're taking that gold out of the game just because somebody died. And the maximum fee that you have to pay is, I think it's 500,000. If you die, get back to your gravestone within 15 minutes. If you don't, you have to go to Death's office and buy your gear back for a higher price than 500,000, I believe it is. But not only that, even at something like the Grotesque Guardians or Vorkath, Zelra, when you die, you have to pay a flat fee to get your items back, not from death, but for whoever is protecting your items at that particular boss. It punishes players for not paying attention. Before the death mechanics were introduced where you have to actually pay to get your items back, I'll admit, I AFK'd way too hard a lot of times because there was no consequences for it. I used to die multiple times a day doing anything, bosses, just regular Slayer. If I ran out of food and I was really trying to push to finish a task, I'd be like, oh, well, that doesn't matter. I'll just die and come back and get my stuff and start over if I don't make it. But now it punishes you. You have to pay a fee to get your stuff back if you do die, and it makes players try harder to be more successful and die less often. Next up on this list for me is going to be the mobile client. Old school RuneScape Mobile was a great addition to this game. It opened the door for an influx of new players. There might have been a lot of people out there that had never even heard of RuneScape before, that they maybe didn't own a laptop or anything like that. Some people just own tablets and smartphones. But now that old school RuneScape is available on the iOS and Android markets, anybody can download this game whether they have a PC, laptop, phone, tablet, it doesn't matter. Not everyone can sit on a laptop or a PC and play all day, but if you have a phone charger or a portable charger, you can get some hours in. It doesn't matter where you are. This allowed for, I guess, more gameplay and no XP waste. I really don't know how to put it any other differently, especially for veteran players that really just wanted to get some scaping in wherever they might be at the time. You're probably at a family gathering or a cookout, maybe even a wedding that you don't want to be at. Well, you pull out your phone, you can now play old school RuneScape. It's been this way for a few years, but I do think that is one of the greatest. If I had to do a top 3 of this video, the mobile client would probably be in my top 3. All right, for my last one, this one might be a little bit controversial because it's not actually an update that was put out and sanctioned by Jagex. My last one is going to be the HD 117 plugin for the RuneLite client. Now, why am I adding this in here? Well, the HD 117 really pushed old school RuneScape forward with better graphics. The old graphics are just extremely archaic, and if you're not using a third-party client with a GPU plugin, it just looked absolutely terrible in full screen. The HD 117, although it's not in line with current graphic standards, it still provides a much better gameplay experience. Now, me personally, before it came out, I actually said, no, I probably won't use that. I like the old nostalgic feel of old school RuneScape. But with all things, I gave it a try and I ended up really liking it. I actually don't prefer to play RuneScape if I can't use the HD 117 client anymore, because there are certain things that it actually does help with. It makes certain mechanics more visible and easier to identify. One thing off the top of my head that I can think about is the falling rocks at the Grotesque Guardians. Prior to that, it was a little tough for me to actually see the spots on the ground when the rocks were falling from Dusk's middle phase or first phase when you're fighting Dusk. With the old school 117 client, I can actually see them a lot better. They're darker on the ground and they're easier to identify. Another thing that's really great about the client is it actually has colorblind modes in it. It offers colorblind players different modes to help with different colorblind symptoms. I know there's a few different diagnosis out there for different types of colorblindness, and it does offer, I think it's 3 different modes to help those colorblind players see better. And I guess most importantly, every setting is customizable, so the plugin can be used to set up specific systems and peripherals based on what is in your computer or your laptop. So you can go through and change all kinds of settings to make sure you're getting the best FPS while still getting a better graphical experience. I do want to take a moment to say there are a few that I didn't mention that are really good updates, but there's a reason that I didn't mention them. So for one, I want to talk Nex, Theater of Blood, and Vorkath. I didn't mention these as content updates because they kind of go along with the existing Chambers of Zarik and Zelra topics that I included in this video. They also have advanced mechanics that are much one and the same with the other things that I mentioned that kind of stemmed from those other updates. So if you're thinking about mentioning Nex, Theater of Blood, Vorkath, or even the upcoming Tombs of Amasket in the comments below, just know that I'm kind of lumping those in along with the Chambers of Zarik and Zelra. So that's gonna do it, guys, for this video. I had a lot of fun thinking about this. I went through a whole lot of update history for old school RuneScape before I was finally able to settle on these 10 updates. So Joseph Southern, I hope that this video was to your liking, and I hope that I explained why these updates made my list in a way that you can be pleased with. So remember, guys, if you would like to submit a topic to the viewer suggested series, make sure you check the community tab on Sundays after video release to get your chance to post a topic, and hopefully you'll get picked. As always, thank you for watching the video, guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. If you have something you want to say about this video, or if you have another update that you think should have been on here, leave it in the comments below. I'll try to get to everyone that I possibly can. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.